Howdy folks, how are y'all doing? My name is Reese, and we're still working our way through the massive log of 11 side quests before we wrap up the main story, because I don't want to finish Final Fantasy XVI, the Let's Play adventure that you are currently watching. Just to clarify, because I realized I didn't actually introduce the video. Howdy, welcome. I don't want to finish it without seeing everything that the game has to offer, including all of the side stories. We got really invested in a lot of these characters' lives, and I want to see where everything wraps up. So we're trying to do that before we go to Origin to fight Zed. So I noticed that it wants me to go to Lost Wing, but I happen to know that the individual we need to speak to for this other quest is not going to be in Lost Wing anymore. So I don't know if the game is broken or what, but we need to go to the Orabella Downs, which is where we will actually find this particular individual, who I'm not going to name because that would be a little bit of a giveaway. But in actuality, I've forgotten his name. It's Quentin! That's what it is! Right, Quentin, you'll know him. Fine. I'll finally talk about my experience with Quentin at the Orabella Downs. That is a reference I don't think anyone in my audience gets. I don't think anyone watches these ridiculous little dramas that crop up on YouTube the way that I do. I'm not going to explain it. You just have to figure it out. If you don't know, then you're just not going to know. What? Why? What are you looking at there, buddy?
I made sure our fallen comrades were laid to rest. And they can rest easy, knowing that their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The justice was done.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
As for us survivors, well, we've just got to keep at it. Keep the family together. For their sakes.
Amen. When I walked up, I saw that guy and then this guy both looking off in this direction, and for some reason in my mind, I interpreted all of these people as doing that, just based on the two of them, which probably says something about psychology. I don't know what, but it probably says something. You can't deny that. That much has got to be true.
Quentin, I have a proposal for you.
Will you marry me?
Something tells me you'll be asking more of me than a cask of Gotand gold. Go on then. Propose. You'd have me convince the chiefs and chamberlains of the realm that they should simply swallow their pride and do the one thing that has proved impossible for thousands of years. Was there anything else? Perhaps I can fetch you a meat pie as well.
I'd take that, yeah.
It's a lot to ask, but I can think of none better suited to the role.
And you'd have me give up what little I have left to do it. I told you, Clive. The people of Lost Wing are my family, and I cannot abandon them.
And I respect
You'll have
that.
to find someone else.
I feel you're the best for the job.
So am I.
And why might that be?
What he's asking. How's it any different to what you've done so far? They want you to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. That's what you do best. If it's the vineyard you're worried about, we'll see that the grapes are picked and the tons filled. You know we will.
It's not that.
Then what is it? You said yourself we're family. Don't you trust us?
You know that's not what I'm...
Then what are you saying? That only we are worth saving? Why turn your back on everyone else? You convinced us we could build new lives for ourselves, and if you can do that, who's to say you couldn't convince the entire realm?
A stirring argument. I fear that any rejoinder I make might fall somewhat flat by comparison.
So you'll join us?
Where do you need me?
Field Marshal Havel will want to speak with you in person. He's currently in Port Isolde. I can arrange for a party of Cursebreakers to accompany you there.
That would be very much appreciated. I hear the roads are far from safe these days.
You could say that.
Hopefully not for long. My uncle will want to know that his plan is taking shape.
Absolutely he will. That's going to require a check-in back with everyone at the hideaway. But we're not going back to the hideaway. We're going to go all the way around here and do Torgal's quest, which is at Port Isolde, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure what Torgal wanted was to go here and sniff something up. I could be wrong. This could be a different side quest that we've got to do. Although, it looks like something's awaiting us right here. I don't know what exactly. And in fact, I'm sure there's actually numerous things awaiting us in this region. It wouldn't surprise me if there were a number of quests available to us here. Look at that! I wasn't wrong! Alright, well, which one is this? More than words, aiming high, where there's a will. In that case, we will go around to tracking where there's a will, aiming high, and, oh, good, more with words is already being tracked. Although, I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't go ahead and run up here and just see what the situation is. Right, we're going to an island. That'll be fun. It's an area we've not been to before. It's a new place to explore.
Still here. After all these years.
What, is this our boat?
Lots more than I remember.
I refuse to believe that this is our boat.
Bigger. You might have to swim, boy.
Yeah, no, he's not swimming.
I wasn't being serious.
You two go on without me. I doubt that boat will hold a third.
If you're sure, we won't be long. Hop in, boy. This place hasn't changed at all. The rookery's right through those trees. Come on.
Awesome, new landmass to explore.
Race you there? I bet I could still beat you.
New sights to see. Also, are we really sticking with the idea that that boat has just been sitting there for the last, what? How long has it been? 15 years? However long it's been. I don't believe that. I refuse to believe it.
Here we are. This was our hideaway. Wasn't it, Torgal?
In order for that to work, we had to carry Torgal up here and set him down there.
Help me to forget who I was.
Then go back to the door and come in and slump down on the ground.
Prince, shield. Son his mother could love. Had I been any one of those things? Perhaps. What is it, boy? This is all from the castle. And Phoenix Gate. Did
Yeah.
you bring these here?
I reckon he did. In case I guess we ever found our way here. Oh my
My sparring son.
gosh, he's such a good boy!
Well, well. You never stopped looking for me, did you, boy?
We don't deserve dogs. Dogs are too good for us.
Thank you, Torgal. For never giving up. For never forgetting.
This is
Take
truly the
with us,
most
shall we?
touching friendship, relationship in the whole
I
game.
don't forget either.
Clive and Jill, nah. Clive and Joshua, nah. Clive and Torgal, though. Chef's kiss. We live for that. Gosh, it's gonna bring a tear to my eye, isn't it? I get teary-eyed at, like, the dumbest things. I can count the number I've, like, cried in the
That's
last
not the
10
way back
years
to
on
the
one
boat,
hand.
Toggle.
But the amount of times I just get a little teary-eyed. God, every time I watch Star
Alright,
Wars Episode
alright.
6, you know?
I'm
It's just that
coming.
rush of pure emotion when, you know, Vader says, you know, if you will not join me, perhaps she will. She says, no! He comes out of there swinging his sword, just like, oh, gosh.
I think I know
And then,
where
of
I'm
course,
going.
when he's screaming, Father, help me! And, oh, fabulous, fantastic film. That was the one everyone hated on before the prequels came out, which is what everyone hated on until Episode 7, 8, and 9 came out, which is what everyone will hate on until the end of time, because they are trash films. There are no redeeming qualities. They're not like the prequels. The 10 years from now, people won't look back on those movies fondly, because there's nothing fond to look back on. They're trash. And if you like them, you're a trash person. I don't mean like you work in like waste disposal.
People always talk about the importance of putting the past behind you. But without it, we wouldn't be who we are today. And we certainly couldn't steer our way to a better tomorrow. Come on, Toggle. Let's go home.
More than words. More than words. Oh, a charged sparring sword that's going up in the wall. Increased Torgal's attack potency. Well, if I ever noticed Torgal fighting, I would probably equip that, but I very rarely do. Which is not to insult him. Also, hey brother, sorry we kind of left you behind for that entire
Sorry for the
adventure.
wait. We're ready.
Right, obtain oil from Eludil, which is right in the immediate vicinity. I just want to grab this and then not get into a fight with these fellas. Like, no insult to them, but I'd rather just head right up to Eludil. And maybe we can just buy this. Maybe this is just like a sellable, purchasable item. A tradable, if you will. That we could just, like, snap up real quick and not waste a whole bunch of time in the area. Apparently we're in the right region for it. Maybe it's just, like, lying around on the ground? That would be nice. Or maybe maybe that's what the wells are full of. Maybe the wells are full of oil. No, that would be unfortunate. That's normally a bad sign when you find that. Oh, we can interact with these? Why?
Well, this isn't at all foreboding.
Well, that was odd. I have no explanation for that. We're still in the searchable area. Aha, here we go. Yes! Retrieve the oil.
It's oil. After what happened here, it's a miracle there was any left at all.
Goblin Mugger. There should be more, though, right? Like, we're assuming there's another batch. Do we think the Goblin Muggers have it? Why would they have oil? Oh. Actually, I don't want to know what they have oil for. Let's just go ahead and assume that they do. And deal with the situation accordingly. Yeah, you know what? It's really shaping up like they don't have oil. That's unfortunate. What they do have is some gills, some Wyrite, and some more Wyrite. It definitely appears as though it's right around here, and I'm probably looking directly at it and just not seeing it, which is always a possibility. Ooh. You'd think we'd find both of it in the... We'd find both of it in the docks, because that's where you would... Would they be using oil on boats? What are they doing with oil on boats? Can we go upstairs here? It's a good thing. They do let you know when you've wandered out of the search area a bit too far. Like when we went down here earlier, it was like, no. Up here. So it's somewhere in this little region. I wonder how far this way we can go. Might it be tucked away back here in the stables? Might it be tucked away inside of one of the... Oh, here we go. Wait, what is this? This is not oil. There we go. It's literally right there. They must use it on the
Materials
wagons.
to Mid so she can finish her prototype.
We could go do that, or alternatively, what we could do is remember that we do have other quests to do in this region, and so let's head down here for Hero's Bluff, where there's a will. Is this wrapping things up with Joshua and our father? It looks like this is actually, yeah, the last quest we've got on the overworld. Perhaps this is closer. It is literally titled Hawk's Cry Cliff, so it's probably right on top of where we need to be, since that's where we have to go for this quest. I feel like I've been only very slightly misled and deceived, not like to infuriating degree, but to an upsetting enough
Unwavering
degree.
will
I thought we
and
were going to be right on
unbreakable
top of
bond.
it.
Do you really think we're strong enough?
To save the world? Of course. To have overcome Father's political enemies. Of that I'm less certain.
Only time will
Especially
tell on
knowing
that
what
front.
we know now. What Mother was truly capable of. But perhaps these bands would have helped.
Yeah, no,
Knowing he
Mom
was
was
with us
awful, but she's
would have
also
made all the
dead
difference.
now, and therefore no longer our problem. That's sort of the best thing about Mom, is that she no longer exists. She made sure of that herself.
there.
Why was he buried? Why here? Why here of all places? I have so many questions. I understand that probably Mom didn't want him buried anyplace nice, but here? It's got a great view. Maybe this is like part of the duchy. Maybe when you die, if you're the Duke, you just get buried in some random place. I actually like that as a concept. You could bring tourism to the
Always
area.
fought for what he believed was right. It wasn't until that night at Phoenix Gate that I realized I had never fought for anything. I always had someone else to do the fighting for me.
No matter how fate conspired against him, he never lost heart, never looked back, never stopped fighting. To me, he was the greatest of men. And I've been trying to live up to his ideals ever since.
Is that why we wear his clothes? I
We
expected
all
us to
have,
get another
Clive.
change of clothes at some point. We still haven't.
We all have. And we'll keep trying. Because that's what he would have wanted.
Yes.
What he would have done himself. Even if it meant standing against the very gods in the heavens.
I shall be borrowing this, Father, if I may. That you might watch over us as we follow in your footsteps.
Dad? Yeah. Oh. He lives on in you, Clive. He lives in you, hey, and da.
We won't let you down.
He lives in me, hey, da. Lion King 2 is better than people say. Dun, da, da, da. The music really slaps. Da, da,
Onward,
da,
then.
da, da. Especially the villain
Onward.
song. Not this, that's not the song.
end.
Sorry, I apologize.
And to a new beginning.
I don't. I stand by what I did. In fact, I'm glad I did it. I hope it upsets you, gosh darn it. Hey, look at that. Where there's a Will, there's a William, because that's what Will is short for. Rusted battle helm. Archduke Elwin's helm worn during his victorious campaign to quell the Northern Uprising. War's coming, my boy. We must make ready. That's his most famous quote, apparently. Oh. Joining hands with Joshua has joined Clive's party and will remain with him until departing for Origin. Oh. So this entire time, I wanted to save this one for last because I wanted to keep him with us, not realizing that... Well. That's good to know. I think that's everything we need to do in the broader world. And now we can return, where apparently there's a new quest. I just noticed that there is a brand new quest. We're trying to complete all of the side quests, and there is a new quest here. You know what that means. We have to figure out, first off, where the new quest is. I'm assuming it's up in our chambers. And we have to accept it before we complete any further quests. Because that's the insanity that we've decided to abide by. Is we're just going to keep all the quests going simultaneously. It's right here. Let's see what it's all about. Hopefully it's something nice and simple. Hopefully the blacksmith isn't feeling blue again. Oh my gosh, there's so much to read. We've got a note of thanks, first off. Oh yeah, we haven't completed In Search of Lost Tome. We're getting there. A note of thanks, my Lord Marquess. I write to thank you for the kind consideration you have shown to those whose names are written within the pages of the Book of Martyrs. I know that this would move them deeply to know that the first shield of the Phoenix laments their passing. Though each and every member of our order stands ready to sacrifice their lives in service of the Phoenix, I do not doubt that those who are taken before their time go with regret for the long years of duty left undone. That they should live on in the memory of the proud son of House Rossfield, such as yourself, shall surely go some way to soothing their sorrows. May the Phoenix's flame burn ever in your heart, Cyril, bearer of the burning quill. Beautiful, a new day. I am not so foolish as to believe that a single shaming at the hands of the town urchins can dispel a lifetime of hatred built up in one's heart, just as a pot cannot be made clean by reminding it of its grime. It takes effort, persistence, and more often than not, a stiff brush and a bucket of lye. But more than that, it takes time. Fortunately, your courage and leadership has granted us just that. We must now decide whether to embrace or to waste it. A wise man once said that night is always darkest before dawn. I don't know if that's 100% true. It is a good thing that I count one who burns so bright amongst my friends. Lubor. Aw, this beautiful Lubor. That which conquers all, here not long removed from when last you placed yourself between us and peril, I sit and pen yet another letter in which I try to find the words to somehow express the gratitude of an entire town. Still, something feels different about our latest triumph. Where in the past we leaned ever so heavily upon your good graces, this time we found strength elsewhere, in ourselves. Our hardship has shown us that which should have been apparent all along, that we are not different, as we all want to believe. Does a peasant love his homeland any less than a noble? Does a bear love his family any less than another man does his own? It is this love that has united us and given us true strength. Should every thrall, Akashic bandit, and brigand in the realm come charging our gates, we will not flee, we will not falter, we will fight, and we will win. Isabel. See, a lot of these do... Wait, hold on. Okay, no. A lot of these do feel like sort of final words spoken. I did not mean to just leave there. I hit the wrong button by mistake, as happens from time to time. The two of you have been together for what probably feels like a lifetime now, but there's still a lot you have to learn about that hound of yours. He'd step in front of a bloody raging behemoth if it meant protecting you, but that doesn't mean you should take it for granted. At the end of the day, he's a hound, and sometimes he just wants someone to pat his head and rub his belly and give him a handful of Kupo nuts. You do good to remember that. Thank you, Karen. My beloved sons, I believe this one was read to us already, so we're just going to skip over it and go to the Wages of Fate. Do you remember when you told me that night at Phoenix Gate, that while the fate of Rosaria sits on my shoulders, the fate of its dominant sits upon yours? We are not both dominants of fire? But are we not both dominants of fire? See, I can read. Does not the flame of our forebearers burn in both our hearts? Should I not protect you as you have protected me? You have chosen to be my shield. Now let me choose to be yours. Is it not what our father wanted? What Sid wanted? To cast aside fate and forget our own paths? Grant me this, Clive. Let me be your strength. Joshua. Concern for Jill. Uh-oh. Though her icon brought her much suffering, the loss of Shiva weighs heavy on her heart. And we would be poor friends indeed if we were not to seek to lighten that burden. Even but only a fraction before we depart for the skies. I would speak more on this in private. Okay, absolutely. Yeah, we probably should discuss this.
If Joshua's worried about Jill, I should go and speak with him.
I think we'll save that one for last, though. We're not going to address that one just yet. If we happen into it, that might be a different situation. But for now, the time has finally come to focus on wrapping some quests up. Because goodness gracious, we have a lot of those left ongoing. So what do you reckon we ought to do first? Perhaps maybe we'll step outside here and we will talk to Byron about his plan and how it went. We did get someone, a couple of people involved.
The Field Marshal has agreed to your plan.
Ha! Of course he has. I didn't doubt you for a moment, dear boy.
Rutherford is accompanying him back to your manor in Porter's Alder as we speak. They will await your return there. As will one other.
One other? Who, exactly?
Lord Havel was concerned that even if he could get the realm's armies to agree to an accord, he might not be as successful in convincing those with political power. He asked if I might have a solution, and I suggested a certain Imperial Lord Magistrate turned Liberator.
One of your co-conspirators?
Master Quinton would probably call me one of his, but yes.
Another outlaw, then. Just the thing we need to put these rotten politicos in their places. Good thinking, Clive.
I'm glad you approve.
The more the merrier, eh?
Uncle, assuming Havel and Quinton can solve our problem with the armies, you still haven't mentioned how we might manage the grain shortages.
Oh, don't you worry, my boy. The 7 high houses will be seeing to that. They have all agreed to make the most generous of donations. Oh, of course, it did take a little persuasion, but luckily I had some unexpected help.
From who?
Why, you, my boy. Rumor has it that you rescued the Lady Ariane's head steward Rockford from a horde of bloodthirsty bandits.
It was more of a handful.
Well, the old battle axe was so pleased. She had a shipload of talents delivered to my private docks by the next new moon. And when the other houses saw the parsimonious old crone's purse strings finally loosen, they as good as tripped over themselves in the rush to follow suit.
I'm happy to hear it.
Now, I must be getting back to the manor. Join us there at your earliest convenience, would you?
Of course, Uncle.
Okay, I mean, I had other quests I needed to attend to here, but fine. I guess we're just going to go gallivanting around the world again. Meanwhile, at a later date, at Rosefield Manor.
And how, pray tell, will we get that grain to the capital if the roads are still overrun with Akashic?
You'll find another bloody road. I only have so many men, and I'm not about to send them headlong into an ether flood. That is, unless you'd have them turn as well.
Well, I'd certainly eat less.
Says the man with a belly bigger than a band of curls. My soldiers actually need their rations. Without any food to keep them going, they'll be dead even before you've sent them on your fool's errand.
If I may, gentlemen, perhaps I might suggest an alternative approach. Though supply routes are indeed disrupted, there is no shortage of ships. Indeed, they bob away in every bay from here to Randalar, awaiting a safe haven. Allow them to make port and fill their bellies full of grain. And once those who crowd the cities are fed, ferry the displaced back to the countryside to work the fallow fields. But I'm sure that you wish to continue your discussion.
He's so
Forgive
good.
the interruption.
He's so
Two
smooth.
such firm friends as yourselves need no help from the likes of me. Rutherford spoke fondly of the great bond between you.
Us? Friends? I can't stand the man.
Clive, I'm beginning to question the quality of the company you keep.
And what kind of company were you expecting him to keep? The man's a criminal.
Criminal? How dare you? You are not fit to breathe the same air as this fine, upstanding young gentleman.
Upstanding? He calls himself Sid the Bloody Outlaw!
He's got us there.
Once more onto the breach.
I do not envy his position.
Shall we begin again? What we seek here is not to create a new nation, nor to claim the thrones of those that already exist. We wish simply to bring stability to the realm that mankind might weather the current storm. And to do that, we must convince those in power, the generals, the statesmen, the nobles, that our cause is just. There will be disagreements, yes, and I imagine some resistance, much resistance. But we cannot let that deter us. If we show them the path, show them that we walk it ourselves, then I am confident they will follow. The fate of the world lies in my nephew's hands, but the well-being of her people lies in ours. And we must not squander the chance that Clive has given us.
Uncle Byron,
Now, with that settled, let's move on to the signing of the accord. For what great moment in history hasn't been accompanied by a little ceremony? Citizens of Valisthea, I present to you the Triunity. Rutherford, Mike Will. Well, my boy, the stage is set.
That it is.
This is the role you were born for. Now I ask only that you trust in the talents of your supporting cast. We shall play our parts to the best of our abilities, that you might have the opportunity to shine. The realm needs its Sir Crandall. And there is no better Crandall than you, Clive. I want you to keep this signed accord as proof of our faith in you.
I will. Thank you, Uncle.
Oh, it just kind of ended. Just kind of petered out there at the end. So we have an accord to put up in our room. Yep, absolutely. Reduces Heaven's cooldown. Or Havens. Is that Heavens? That's Heavens. I can read. I know how to read. What are you talking about? I'm an expert at it. I've been doing it all day. Leave me alone. Shut up, alright? Listen. No, I don't need your irritation in my life right now. Take me back up. Get me up there. I wonder if it's faster to just fast travel back to the top than actually take the elevator. That would be funny were that true, and it likely is if I had to guess. Alright, what next? We have a book to turn in, but the individual we're supposed to be turning it into is not standing where I'd expect to find... Oh, wait, no! I'm sorry, I got my quests confused.
Welcome back, Sid.
I know where the quest goes.
Yes.
Or where the book goes. I know what...
Trip wasn't too much of a pain.
I've been streaming for, 5 hours now. Give me a break. Just give me a break.
Suggested roping you in to help with the trial, but from what I hear, things didn't go quite as planned.
No, they most certainly did not.
I mean, he technically did complete the job.
Ember lost his nerve in the face of a beast of prey, but he didn't lose heart. He pressed on, and he achieved his aim. And is that not what we ask of our scouts?
Indeed it is. Thank you for your honest appraisal, Sid. The fact remains, however, that Ember will not always have a battle-hardened warrior on hand to pluck him from the jaws of peril. All I have gleaned from this trial is that without someone watching his back, Ember is little more than a liability.
Wait, Sergeant. Ember still has much to learn, it's true. And this time he was found wanting. But I'd say he's due a second chance, nonetheless. After all, he did do as you asked.
With a bit of hard work, any hand can be made to hold a blade, and any mind can conquer its fears. But a scout's nose is different. You've either got one, or you ain't. And by sniffing out that log, young Ember here has shown he has a conch and a half. Wouldn't do to waste it now, would it?
Fine. One more chance.
I'll do whatever you ask. I'll spend my days and nights in the pit if I have to. I'll show you. Just you wait.
Daft as a brush, that one. But his heart's in the right place. Just like someone else we know. And if you ask me, we've been leaning on him for far too long. That time the curse breakers took some of the weight off his shoulders, I reckon.
It couldn't hurt.
Just don't tell Gav I said so, will you? I won't have him thinking he's been hard done by. Next thing you know, he'll be asking for a day off. Chance would be a fine thing. Back to work.
Forgive me, Sid. This did not play out as I expected.
Things rarely do these days. But that's why we need men like Ember more than ever. Men who can make the best out of a bad situation. Remember that.
I will, Sid. Thank you.
Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. I think he'll make a fine scout, you know, now that the war is coming to an end, now that it's wrapping up and we literally no longer need scouts. I'm sure he'll do a great job at it, you know? This is where we need to return the book to. See, I know what I'm talking about. Vivian here needs it.
Vivian. I found it. The book you lost.
You found it. Thank you, Clive. Even though I asked this of you, I was not entirely sure it would be possible. I feared the executors had seized every copy.
I met with one of these executors, and I convinced him to let me keep it.
That's not exactly what happened,
He
but
told
okay.
me something. That the truth is just a matter of collective belief. And that if enough people believe a lie, that lie becomes the truth.
It does. But it also means that the truth is not immutable, that it can be changed, provided that those who wish to change it can convince enough people that their perspective is the correct one. As the sad history of the bearers proves.
You said that the book inspired you to become a scholar.
It did. Or its author, rather. She was a heretic, you see. A firebrand and a dissenter. A gallows stood ready for her in every corner of the realm. And by shunning society, or perhaps being shunned by it, she stumbled upon a truth so potent that an entire realm trembled at the prospect of its utterance. I, too, have always felt somehow set apart from the world of men. A stranger to my own species. She taught me that my solitude was not a curse, but a gift. And that, though my journey to the truth might be a lonely one, what I found at my destination would be more than worth the cost.
Do you still feel that way? That you're not one of us?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure anymore. Since coming to the hideaway, I find my thinking somewhat clouded. Perhaps the result of studying mankind from a rather closer perspective than I had intended. But the more I study, the more I find value in this perspective. In looking not from the outside, but from within. So if you'll permit me, I'd like to continue my work here. Remember, Clive, when enough people believe, belief begets truth. Give the men and women of this benighted world the gift of truth. Make them believe in you, as I do.
I'll try, Vivian. I'll try.
That was an interesting one, is all I'll say. We'll just let that lie for now. We'll come back around to it, I'm sure. The Scholar's Bonnet. Oh, it's displayed in Clive's chamber. Everything we're getting right now is basically just like a trophy to display in the chamber. Which is funny. Also, he's got like stacked things he can say. That's odd. Not really, though. Just two things. I mean, it looks like he's got a stack of things to say, but it's just the two things, and I'm not really interested in hearing his opinion on either. So we're going to carry on, and once we get up here, we have a choice. Up or down? Up or down? Live chat, up or down? I'm not actually waiting for your response. I'm going up. I feel like that'll wrap up a lot faster than whatever Mid's got for us. I'm assuming Mid's is going to be a bit more involved than just turn in the items and go about our lives. So hello there, you. How are you? We're finally back.
I hear that you traveled to Ash.
I brought back the list you were looking
by
for.
Any chance recover the names of my fallen friends?
Some of them are missing from the end of the list, but we did find it. The Bearer Registry.
If I may, the Bearer Registry. The director was a brutal man. He got no worse than he deserved.
The registry was all I found beneath the tree. There was no sign of a body. Or any record of what happened to the children after the orphanage closed.
I pray that at least some of them survived. All their names are here. The ones we lost. My friends. My light in those dark times. I can still remember their faces, like it was yesterday. Children who were taken from their bunks in the morning, never to return. No explanation ever offered.
They'd be happy to know that you survived, Herman.
But why did I make it out alive, when so many others died in that awful place?
No, fella's got survivor's guilt.
It's not your fault. And blaming yourself won't bring them back. Honor their memory. See that their names live on. That way, at least. They're never truly gone.
Thank you. Sid, I'm going to write a book. An account of the horrors of Badbach, and the spirit of those its custodians sought to crush. All of Valisthea will know of our suffering, and in the name of those I lost, I will not let it happen again.
Neither will I.
These records would have been buried for all eternity, were it not for you. Thank you.
Now that's the kind of book that can change hearts and minds. Bless him. Also, that is a ton of points that we can use here. That's actually crazy. In fact, I mean, not really appropriate to follow that up with, because that was a bit on the heavy side, wasn't it? But we can go ahead and use that if we wanted to upgrade a Judgment Bolt, which I think we will. And then we can go ahead now if we wanted to and swap this to something a bit more useful. Titan Block. We can get Titan Block back. We love Titan Block. And then we can just replace that with... what was it? Thunderstorm is not the one we want. We want Pile Drive, and then we want... there's nothing wrong with Thunderstorm. It's fine. But Judgment Bolt was the one we meant to master all that time ago. So now we can have the two of those, as well as Titan Block. And then we've got our Icy Dodge, and then we have the Zoopy thing that we like. We got a pretty decent loadout of abilities right now. A lot of my favorite ones are queued up and ready to go. I'm ready to take on the final bad guy. Hello, Mid, I'm back, and I've brought all the stuff you wanted.
Tell me this is all you need.
We've got 1 shell and 2 shipwright tallow. What about the oil? Was the oil for someone else? I thought maybe that's what shipwright tallow is.
You make it sound like I asked you to save the world or something.
Tell me this is all you need.
It's most of what I need. After you left, I went over the figures again, and I realised I'd forgotten a 1 and a 0.
And
a cogwheel. Just a tiny one. Though, that's the problem. Gears that small are a bastard to make, and I may have lost the one Blackthorn spent a fortnight toiling over.
Wait. The children. When they took apart your scales, there was a tiny brass gear.
It's coming back around!
Now that I think about it, they didn't use it when we put the scales back together.
Yeah, remember we were wondering about that.
Why would they... You know what? I don't want to know. I'll keep working on the model. You go and find that cog.
I mean, it was just left on the table next to the scales. That's... I remember being confused, because it felt like the game just kind of... The quest kind of petered out after that. I was like, well, I guess we're just not going to know what that's about, but now we will. And also, there's another new quest to accept. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. There's just constant series of quests here. We're going to be here for years.
Sid, is Mid still hiding from us?
She wasn't hiding. She's fine. She's just busy working on her next project.
A new invention? What is it? What is it? Is it an airship? I bet it's an airship!
It is an airship.
Let us help.
That just so happens to be why I'm here. She needs something special, something only you 3 can provide.
They did something to it.
A tiny one.
They're going to introduce a fishing minigame, and we're going to have to spend the next 40 minutes fishing to find the gear.
Oh, the one you forgot! We remember.
We saved it, just in case. It's in the bag of bits.
The bag of bits.
Since your lesson, we've been disassembling, then reassembling everything we can find. All the pieces that are left over, we keep under our beds, just in case.
There shouldn't be pieces left over.
Good to know.
Unless you put it back together more efficiently than it was originally built, which can happen. That's how you feel when you do Lego, and at the end of it, you're like, wow, I only used, like, most of the pieces. There's so many left over, and it looks the same as it does in the box.
Just
Clearly, I was just more efficient.
We have more parts if Mid needs them.
That's all for now. But I'll let Mid know about your hoard. Just in case.
Thanks, Sid.
Bunch of little goobers. Love them, but goobers. They are goobers. It cannot be denied. We're going to go ahead and finish up things here with Mid before we go figure out what that remaining quest is.
Well, did they have it?
Brass cogwheel. No fishing required.
They did. And they kept it somewhere nice and safe. Will it work?
Will it work? He's perfect! You're a genius, Clive.
What exactly are you going to use it for?
Only the most important job of all. The wings aren't going to move on their own. But with the right cog in the right place... Well, you just wait and see. That should do it. Here goes nothing. Titan's tits.
A weird sentiment I've not heard
Wasn't
before.
supposed to fly, was it?
Of course it was supposed to fly. Wouldn't be much of an airship if it didn't. Honestly, these bloody engines are driving me mad. I was so sure this would be the day she soared. The Mithril engine was made to make dreams come true. But maybe this is one dream the world's better off without. Show folk how to take flying. It won't be long till they're raining death down on each other. People will lose their homes, children, their mums and their dads. Like I lost mine.
I'm sorry.
So am I, Clive. So am I. Sorry that I have to choose. Do I follow my head, or do I follow my heart?
Good question. The first time I stood on the deck of your ship, felt the wind in my hair. It was like I was flying. But imagine how it would feel to actually do it.
My dad always said there were two ways of living life. Chasing a dream or shuffling to your grave. And he were right. Right about a lot of things. Not that I like to admit it. People need dreams to chase. Especially in a world like this. Right. When this is over, I'm gonna take all my Mithril engines to Zemeckis and sling them over the edge. I won't have my dream end up turning into someone else's nightmare.
But all that hard work...
All that hard work will not be used for war, Jamie. But it ain't like it'll be gone. Tell me, Clive, have you ever been on a treasure hunt?
Not since Joshua and I were boys. Why do you ask?
Because I'm gonna bury the engine schematics and leave behind a little riddle telling people where to find them. A really hard one, so that only the most dedicated dreamers will ever be able to work it out. Ooh, I can picture it now. Some daft general squinting at the words with a gormless expression on his mug. Like that one, yeah.
Right.
Did he even register that he was basically insulted just now? I like our sentiment, but I kind of disagree with it. I mean, you found something incredible that could revolutionize travel. Yeah, it could be used for war, but think about how much good it could do.
Of course, if I'm putting this engine at the end of a treasure hunt, I'll still need to make it a treasure worth hunting for. Won't be much of a prize if it couldn't even make a toy boat fly after all. My dad always said, dream big. But it ain't the size of a dream that's important, is it, Clive? Only that it's a good one. And I reckon I've got a fair few good uns left in me.
I'm sure you do.
It's like, you know, the atom bomb's a pretty dangerous thing, but from all of that research, we learned about nuclear energy. And that's one of the cleanest, safest, most plentiful forms of energy we have available to us. And the only reason we don't use it is because of bureaucracies and the big corporations that pay off all of our politicians on both sides of the aisle. Make no mistake, our greatest choice moving forward would be go full nuclear energy. And the reason we don't is because everyone's been paid off to make sure it doesn't happen. You got to think about it. You got to think about it, right? You got one side's being paid off to continue spending all of our money and investments on coal and oil. The other side's been paid off by a completely different group of people to spend all of our money on like solar and wind energy, and no one is paying off anyone to develop nuclear energy, which is our best option. The whole system's rigged against us. Now that is going to be speaking with Joshua about his letter, but we have some more side quests to pick up here that we want to do before that. So, about his letter. Oh, right, about Jill, the letter he left us. I remember now. Well, let's see what's awaiting us here first off, all right? Let's take a little stop in at the reading table. Making amends. Master Clive, I am aware there are matters of much greater import which demand your attention. But should you find yourself a moment, I bid you visit me in the shelves that I might ask a single favor concerning His Highness Prince Dion.
It's usually me making demands of Harpocrates. I wonder what this is about.
I don't know. We'll go ahead and track that one, though. Go ahead and make that our #1 top priority. And then we do have one other quest here. See, the issue is, as we finish these, are more going to pop up? If I have a look at the world map, are there more out there to find? Thankfully, no. It's not that I don't enjoy them, it's just, I want to finish the game. You know, I want to see how this ends. I want to get some answers. Gav, I love talking to you, though. How are you doing, Gav?
You alright?
Yeah, tell me about Silver Linings. It wasn't a great film, was it?
No more than usual. It's just... Eda's baby will be coming soon, and I wanted to make something for it.
I'm sure she'd like that.
Back in the north, families would always make gifts when a bairn was on the way. Yeah, I'll let the little tykes know they were welcome in their new homes, like.
So, what's the problem?
Well, the problem is that Eda's due any day now, and I don't know if I'll be ready in time.
Is there anything I can do to help?
You know, there just might be.
All right, then. What exactly are we making?
A good luck charm. But not just any good luck charm.
Not just any.
No. One made from the feather of a silver chocobo. There's naught lucky in all the realm, or so we used to say back home anyway. Thing is, they're hard to come by. Had Otto and Karen check with their suppliers, but nothing. I'd try and track one down myself, only...
Only the big day is fast approaching. And that's all you need, a feather.
That or the bird whose horse it's attached to, aye. I was gonna start by asking around with traveling traders plying the northern borders.
Well, there's no shortage of those passing through Martha's. I think I might make that my first port of call. I'll let you know if I find anything.
You're a good friend, Clive. I won't forget this.
I don't know if we'll prioritize this one just yet, because I kind of want to address the ones immediately in our vicinity. Let's go ahead and run up here and speak to Hippocrates. Hippocrates. See what his situation is all about. And then we'll head off. And good gosh. It doesn't end. It doesn't end!
I received your note.
Ah, yes. I expect you're wondering what this is all about.
You spoke of making amends with Dion. But I can't imagine what for.
Then I should begin by telling you that I was once his tutor.
Whoa!
This was some years ago, of course, before I joined Sid in his hideaway. At that time, I was counted among the foremost scholars of Oriflamme, and was accordingly invited to the palace to supervise the young prince's education, all to ensure that the future emperor had a firm grounding in, well, everything an emperor should. History, religion, commerce, government. Alas, our time together was cut short when Dion left to join the Dragoons, his studies no longer being deemed necessary. I had not expected to meet with him again, least of all here.
Have you spoken with him?
No, I have yet to find the right moment. His Highness always seems so preoccupied, especially when alone. I would not wish to disturb his ruminations with idle words of greeting, not when I know he dwells upon the evil Ultima had him commit in the Dominion.
The guilt weighs heavily on him, I know. But as you say, that was Ultima's doing. Surely you can't blame yourself.
When I first met him, it was not guilt, but his people's expectations that weighed heavily upon him, and I did nothing to ease that burden. He bore it alone, until the day he could not bear it any longer. It is one of my greatest regrets that I only ever offered him my wisdom, when what he truly needed was friendship. The blame for Dion's transgressions lies not only on his shoulders, but on mine.
I see. I'm ready to help you in any way that I can.
Then I beg that you bring me a wild wyvern tail. Apothecaries across the ages agree that even to glimpse such a flower is to be granted inner solace. Fabulists and fraudsters all, of course. But there is oft a seed of truth to be found where even the most outlandish opinions align.
Well, it can't hurt to try. Where can I find this flower? And how will I know it?
You have seen cultivated wyvern tails before, I trust. The lily-white blossoms from whose roots the poisonous ink for the brand is distilled. Well, those which grow in the wild differ only in their purple hue. The harsher the environment in which they are raised, the deeper the colour. There is a waterfall in Rickmal's roost across the strait, where the flowers once grew in abundance. Whether they still survive there, I know not. But try as I might, I can find no likelier location.
It's all right. I'll find you a wyvern tail one way or another.
Thank you, Clive. And please, be safe.
I thought he wanted an actual wyvern tail for a minute, and I was deeply confused by that and could not fathom what benefit there would be to collecting one of those for him. But this makes much more sense, and that gives us a couple of options moving forward. I'm kind of curious more so about the wyvern tail, so I think we're going to do that first. But first, I have to go to the restroom.